Nick Cannon love the kids, y'all. And I want to talk about Nick today because Nick had an epiphany. I want to just dive in this a little bit, y'all. So get your take on it. So the brother admitted himself, 12 kids later, like, Spot's about 12 kids later, right? That this was a trauma response. He said, here's the question to you, actually. Is this about spreading legacy, right? Because I mean, we people been questioning him for a while. Like, dude, why all these kids with like 6 baby mamas? You averaging like 2 each. Sometimes it was 3. Now you got 12. Is it legacy or are you running from healing? And maybe he's answering that now. But then another question raises: are the women who are with him, are they complicit in enabling this pattern, like enabling what he's done? And then what does that say about Black fatherhood? Because he's like one of the notable Black fathers in the media right now, in the public eye, right? And it looks more like multiplication and mentorship the way he's been doing it. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm pretty sure baby mama number 13 is ready to come off the bench. So they are definitely co-conspirators. I think there is something to do with this trauma response. I don't know. He didn't get real specific with it, but this is coming from somewhere. I don't think it's naturally like, hey, I want to have just a whole bunch of 13, 15 kids just because I can. But it's kind of giving like that nerdy kid who didn't really get a lot of women, when he was younger. Now that I'm rich and famous, like I just can't. So I'm going to do it. So maybe he was bullied when he was young, or he got rejected from the prom. Like I don't know, but it's definitely not a good look for Black fatherhood, because now whenever these things come up, everybody's like, well, what about Nick Cannon? So now I'm always in a position where I gotta, not all Black men are like Nick Cannon, the topic, whatever it is we're talking about. So Nick Cannon, stop putting me in a position where I have to, not all men are like you situation, because we love Black fatherhood, and not even just Black fatherhood, present Black fatherhood. And if you do have some trauma response, I hope it doesn't take 12 kids in. Maybe 15 or 20 kids in, you may come up with some other trauma that you discover. I hope that's not your path of discovery, because it's not healthy, and you're going to eventually run out of money. So if this is a response to something, your serial baby daddyism, stop producing kids to discover it. Go talk to a professional. You'll thank me later. Trust me, Nick. But that's my take. S&M, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and co-sign on all of that. And I'm just going to add something else, though. I'm going to add just a little piece and maybe a little toxic, but we know why he had trauma. It was all about Mariah. We know he was hurt. His feelings he was just butthurt when she didn't want to be with him no more. And now all of a sudden he was like, I'm just going to have a whole bunch of babies because this is going to give me worth and value. And while he said it was accidentally, and he even acknowledged that some of the women came up to him and was like, can you be my baby daddy? And so but he could have made the right choices. But he said he was making these choices from a place of trauma. But he never really identified the trauma per se, except for the one time throughout the whole interview where he alluded to his divorce with Mariah. And I said, bam, that's the trauma, because he had this whole idolization of this woman. He had her on the wall when he was 12 and she was like 30. Now I'm just kidding. I don't know how big the age gap was, but he talked about how she was on the wall and he got his dream girl, the person he was dreaming about since he was a young prepubescent little boy. And then it ended up in divorce. So part of it was, oh my God, my feelings was hurt. I was rejected. So now I need to go sink my dick in some people to make myself feel better. And then the other part of it was, hey, guess what? Mariah's about to be part of the harem. She's going to be part of the harem. Let me make her even though she's baby mama number 1, she's still part of the harem. And so how can you show all type of shade? At the end of the day, this is what I'm going to say, though. These women enable this bullshit behavior. And while Nick is clearly at fault as well, because it was his pee-peeing during the shooting up at the club, he could have made some appropriate decisions. And I think it's more about the men taking the time to actually heal from whatever trauma they're dealing with, while the women who are being stupid ass and enabling this behavior because all they see is the bag, is still up to the men to practice seed control as well. So yes, he acknowledged they was throwing it all at him, and he could have been like, no, let me protect myself. Where's my chastity belt? But he didn't do that because he was talking from a place of trauma, aka Mariah dumped his ass. It's all good, Nick. I'm glad you get into healing and that you deserve and desire and you recognize. But I'm going to go ahead and go with, I see baby number 13 in the future because you're pretty young. You're only 45 and, y'all can shoot up the club till y'all like 72. So good luck.
The sarcasm in your voice and your tone hurt the inner Nick. It was like a 12-year-old Nick that was just cringing every time I heard your sarcasm, because apparently the trauma of young boys are not of your concern, right? Like, I was about to do some fucked up shit. I'm not going to do it because I don't know if I want to be playful or if I want to be serious, right? I want to be serious. So let me just do that. Let me be playful. Not serious. So Nick Cannon got married to her when he was 27. They have a 12-year age difference. Now, I know that probably doesn't mean anything, but she was Mariah Carey, and he did, in fact, probably was raised with her. Like, we don't really appreciate celebrity, I think. Obviously, because maybe we're not celebrities. Maybe one day we'll appreciate it differently, depending on how we look at it, how many times we've been in proximity with a celebrity. But we do live in a celebrity-driven culture, so I can only imagine how a person who might have idolized, Mariah Carey, I remember growing up, Nick is younger than me, I remember feeling young when Dream Lover and all that came out. She was older, I guess 12 years or maybe 10 years older for me or whatever. And so, like, the idea that Nick Cannon from Drumline fame would come across Mariah Carey, who was with the most powerful men. So we can joke and we can laugh. I get it. It's funny. But I guess the empathic part of me can see how that relationship could have taken a lot out of him and could have fucked him up a little bit. We already know Mariah Carey's, reputation for being a diva. So, and it's not like Nick was the most manliest of men. Maybe Dame Dash would not think so. We'll talk about that later on. So if he's just a really good kid, had the opportunity to become famous and, he sings a little bit, he raps a little bit. Even at the time, I don't know if I really saw people looking at that as like a balanced situation. So you talk about power. We talk about the power imbalance all the time, but I guess in this case, it doesn't matter. So my thing is, if he went after that, because he didn't have these many kids and women after that, and then the relationship didn't work out, and then this just happens after the fact, I agree with you. It may be Mariah, but I think I'm just not going to, just for joking purposes, just wash over that. I think there's some credibility there in terms of maybe the impact that she had on him in the wake of the divorce, right? And there's a lot of different ways that when men go through divorce, maybe he didn't feel value within himself. Oftentimes, men would try to find value through their penises, right? A way to feel validated. And then if you're talking about looking for validation, what ultimate way that maybe men are validated than procreation? The fact that a woman would want to have my seed, right? That speaks to, I think, just a certain level of the law of the jungle, if you will, right? So there's a lot of reasons why just naturally, like, a person would want to do these things.